Evening, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting order at 5:30 p.m. Let's jump into roll call. Eric Bennett? Here. Haley Bergman? Joey Bryant? Here. Maddie Crowell?
Here.
Julia Felici?
Here.
Shelby Hamlin?
Here.
Alex Horning? Here. Dr. Martin Kennedy? Here. Lacey Linkins?
Here.
Stephanie Tretchell?
Here.
Renee Skiles?
Here.
Patrick Stanton? Here. Jeanette Webster?
Here.
All right. Moving into the approval of this week's agenda, you guys could give that a look over real quick.
There is under the new supplemental funding request 1813 a request for us to vote on that tonight as the tickets are going to be posted or go on sale on Monday.
They go on sale on Monday, so that would be before we vote next week.
So put that forward as a potential change to the agenda.
That would still go to no, wait, sorry.
So is that something we could vote on?
It would be as we're approving this.
If we vote on it tonight, we can give us
Yeah.
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve this week's agenda. Maddie moves, Stephanie seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Moving on to the approval of last week's minutes. You guys can review that real quick.
One on the first page is to the bottom. Jeffers, Brisbane, period. And the other question, I have a question about under number 4. Motion, discussion, amendment. Choose the second discussion be adopted.
Where are you, Patrick?
Page 5, and it's on page 2. It says discussion. But I'm wondering if that discussion happened before.
No,
It happened after.
right, so we had discussions, there was a motion, we had more discussion, then there was an amendment, and then we had more discussion.
After the vote.
And then we voted, yeah, on the amendment, yeah.
Okay. I just wanted.
I actually listened to the recording to try to get all of that in there.
Yeah, I'm sure. That was really fun.
Thank you, Jeanette. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve last week's minutes. So Jeanette moves, Eric seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Moving on to reports for this week. I don't have any reports.
I just want to report that there is $81,863.64 left in the supplemental.
Nothing new. We'll have some updates and some information next week, which at this moment, and I know Jinx itself looks to be a relatively brief meeting, but we'll still meet next week. Also, I do apologize for how long it takes, since I will have to sneak out here shortly after 6 if we're still good.
All right, moving on to section 6, public comment first call. Is there any public comment at this time? Seeing none, moving on to section 7, old business subsection A, voting on supplemental funding request 1810, the ESC block party t-shirts in the amount of $1,413. The table is open for discussion. Yes, Maddie?
From what I have written on my notes, I like the idea that the ESC has behind the t-shirts. I do think that having all of the clubs that are available for students that are in a minority. I think that that's really helpful having them showcased in a sense around campus for students who do wear them. But the only thing with that is I know that I own shirts that are like that, and I only wear them to bed. And so I'm slightly conflicted with this one. I mean, the cost per shirt is very minimal. When I did the math, I got $9.53 per shirt. But yeah, that's just my thoughts.
I not necessarily second, but I agree with her. I also have the kind of shirts from universities with even my own clubs on them that I don't wear. And not that I'm saying that people aren't going to wear them, but I've never seen somebody just in a t-shirt that doesn't say like from the Wildcat shop. If that makes any sense. Like, I don't know if, I don't feel great about funding it, especially going into winter, since that's when I'm assuming they're going to be getting them, right? Because it's from the spring, like nobody just wears a t-shirt outside of their sweatshirt, so you're gonna have a sweatshirt on. Which I'm just thinking logically, like we're spending $1,000, which would then bring it down to 80,000 something for a shirt that's not going to be shown in broad daylight. Maybe the gym. But I'm just saying, that's my thought.
Eric?
I agree with both of you. I see the point of the t-shirt when they were passing them out, but I've been to enough events that when the t-shirts run out, they run out.
Jeanette?
I would also, in my personal opinion, think that, and like he said, when they're out, they're out. I have never had an event where it's been like, oh, you get a t-shirt after the event. Like, it's not, just saying me personally, I don't know if anybody else has. And I'd also like to say in 2017, almost 2018, that there are maybe better ways to promote clubs. And like, I think it's a great idea. I love what they're trying to do. I just think, me personally, there's a better way to go about that than a t-shirt that most people probably aren't going to wear. Events like the gym or after another shirt shift.
Maddie?
I guess I would like to entertain a motion to decline the funding for this specific one, number 1810.
There's a motion on the table to decline supplemental funding request 1810. Eric seconds. Is there any discussion?
The only thing I have for the students, because it really, the rest of us is not going to have an impact, specifically student government, is there any concern from the number of students, because this was a t-shirt that was given as a reward for completing tasks, do you all have any concerns for students coming forward upset that they're now no longer going to get a thing that they were promised from an activity? As long as you all, mostly I want you all to have that as students, to have that knowledge, because student government is most likely going to be the ones who have to answer to.
Eric?
So I completed the all the tables, learned about all the clubs, and I said, oh, are there going to be my size? No, I was fine with that.
For a little background on the event as well, the t-shirts was one part of the completion. They were given a lot of really good food too. But that was one of a two-part reward system, so even if they don't necessarily get a t-shirt, they did get food. So just putting it out there just as historical context.
Jeanette?
Thank you for that, Alex. That's helpful. I don't feel as bad. I don't think we should make a promise that anybody, even in your own personal life, should make promises that you don't already have a backing for. Just, that's my discussion.
Is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? 2 abstentions, motion passes.
Good discussion. Most I wanted on the record, but we can say that since this is.
Moving on to voting on supplemental funding request 1809, the National Council on Family Relations Annual Conference in the amount of $2,898.48. Table's open for discussion. Maddie?
So one thing I disagree with, on the things that they were requesting money for was their gas money to get to the airport and paying for parking, because I think that those things are in the same realm as paying for food, since they are just solely benefiting those going on the trip. And I do think that we should fund this trip, but I just don't agree with the $282.48 for gas and the $55 for parking.
Eric?
The amount for the gas was $282.
48.
Thank you.
So
Maddie?
with those two things combined, that would just deduct $337.48.
$2,561 is the remaining balance there.
Eric?
I'd like to make a motion to fund $2,561.
There's a motion on the table for $2,561. Jeanette seconds. Is there any discussion? Stephanie?
Can we make it so that they know not to pay for the gas at the folks that we give them? Is that what's going to be written?
We can have that written.
Yes, and their advisors. The only other piece, mostly, this is not really discussion, but as the advisor piece, I would make sure that we're consistently applying that rule for other travel then, that we're not including the transportation, just so we have other clubs coming back.
So at this point, we're looking at minimizing the food, gas, and parking is the same thing we're trying to say.
Eric?
And memberships.
And memberships. And
Comment from the gallery?
I just want to clarify that with this request, we were getting membership along with our registration because it was cheaper than getting the non-member registration. So we were trying to save money by getting membership by that point.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the motion at hand? Yes.
What is the number we're trying to go in?
2598? No, 2561.
And we're not,
Yes, Shelby?
and we're not paying for the transportation on the parking.
Correct.
I'm sure the math is right.
I did put the cents in there.
Okay, because that doesn't seem right, because the registration and the hotel alone, and then the airfare.
Are you deducting
Yeah.
4,200?
But there's 4,200 per trip.
Yeah, see.
That's right,
So
okay.
just take it from
Okay.
I have no problem being wrong. Let's get the numbers right before we vote on that. I don't care who's right or wrong on math.
Call the previous question.
Huh?
Call the previous question.
Oh, sorry.
Call the question.
Yes. Yeah, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention. Motion passes in the amount of 2561. Moving on to voting on supplemental funding request. Yes. Oh, yes.
I just did it with the cents, and I have 2362. And I did 2,700 minus the 55 minus 282.
It's not 27.
It's 28.
28, 98, 48.
I did the, I don't, that's the.
Did I,
Thanks, and you were fine, thanks.
Moving on to voting on supplemental funding requests 1811, the Swingcast general meetings in the amount of $700. Tables open for discussion. Shelby?
I guess I struggle with this one because, they did say in their presentation that the officers are still enough to teach the skills, and like really basic skills, that they're still able to teach it. So I kind of feel like, why are they paying for an instructor, like, especially when there's instructors on campus, while they may not be the same type of instructors are looking for. Still on campus resources.
Julie?
What I was gonna say, at least from what I heard, to clarify, I think it was not that they could teach it, they could demonstrate the moves, but that they needed the instructor to actually do the teaching of the techniques in those pieces, so that it was a different.
Stephanie?
I'd like to add to that, and the teachers who are on campus, I said I think they come for 3 times. They're,
I will say, on Monday, I was walking by the ballroom as they were doing the thing, and it was a pretty solid turnout in terms of people. I know that some clubs have trouble with attendance issues, and I don't think this is a problem that club has. So if we're talking about benefits to students, clearly there's student interest in this, and there's something to be said about the student life portion of coming to a university, even though it doesn't necessarily benefit them directly in terms of professional development. But just a thought.
Eric?
I'd like to make a motion to approve $700 for the Swingcast general meetings.
There's a motion on the table for the full amount. Alex seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention. Motion passes in the full amount. Moving on to voting on supplemental funding request 1812, the 14th annual Student African American Brotherhood National Conference in the amount of $9,000. Tables open for discussion. Alex?
So 9,000 is a lot, and so I'm not quite sure about that number, but I loved what these people stand for, what they're going to, and what they're working on. They're like, for me, professional development, job opportunities, like these are the reasons we come to college, and what they presented was something that I personally very much enjoyed on a personal level, but also in terms of what they're going to get out of something like this. I very much am in support of it. Again, $9,000 is a lot of money, so maybe negligent with that, but in terms of the concept of what they're doing, I absolutely loved it.
Eric?
That $9,000 they're requesting was just for airfare, correct? For 15 people. Just from my own knowledge of the organization, they have, I think, 25 people currently active members, and they're that want to go to this thing, and of course they're paring it down to 15 from that number of 25. So I think this is a good thing. So I'd like to make a motion.
Yes.
For to fully fund the request of $9,000.
There's a motion on the table on the full amount. Alex seconds. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, where are we at? 78,000 months a year.
That brings down to 69.
That shouldn't have a huge bearing on this one decision.
This is how we're going.
Any further discussion on the motion at hand? Jeanette?
I know that they've pared down quite a bit by approximately 10 people, but I think, in my personal opinion, and I'm not recommending anything, like 15 is still a lot of people for club organization, etc. My personal feelings are that we pare it down a little bit further, so that it's not so heavy of an amount. But then again, I mean, they have all this money that they've gotten already, and it looks like if we did bring it down by maybe like 5 people, it would change some of the costs here, as well as like the conference registration, $220 per person. That money would then go towards. Does that make sense? Like things would start like slowing down, we would then be easier to cover their expenses.
Maddie?
If we did decide to make an amendment to fund 10 students to go, that would shave off $3,000 from that total of 9,000.
Julia?
I already made plans for all this stuff, and these tickets and things. Been bought. I think you already, at one point they were talking about that. I don't remember correctly, those went up.
Lacey?
So they, I think what you're talking about is they have a membership dues that they've already paid, but that's just to be part of the charter. And even though they have to be a part of the charter to go to a conference, they would still have to pay that, even if they didn't attend the conference. As far as I'm aware, I have not seen anything officially go through, for this particular trip.
Patrick?
So I think we could, not work it out per student, but say here's the amount of money, try to get it that you can there, right? It works out, I think, mentally by, if they ask 15 people, but we could use, if we gave them 9,000 and we want to figure out how to get 22 people there, they would each have to contribute. So I don't know if there's a way to figure out how to fund the percentage of each person that is in the 15% consideration.
What percentage?
Eric?
I really think the value of this organization to campus and the opportunities that these young men will receive by participating in this conference can go a long way to help and bring understanding to our campus here when it comes to people of color and the greater good of the community. And I just see value sending these 15 young men to this conference that would greatly benefit our school.
Is there any further discussion on the motion at hand in the full amount? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention. Motion passes in the full amount. Moving on to Section 8, Subsection A, Supplemental Funding Request Presentation 1813, the CWU Football NCAA Playoffs in the amount of $20,000.
There's a clicker over there. It should, I didn't test it.
Alright, I'm Tyler Unsicker. I'm our Assistant Athletic Director for External Affairs at CW. I've been here about 2 years. But here I'm to present, so our football team is currently sitting at 10-0. Hopefully you all know that. If not, you might remember a loss. No. So they're playing this Saturday against Humboldt State for a chance to win outright the conference, which hasn't happened since, I believe, 09, which last year they ran the table undefeated as well, and the last time that somebody probably stood up there and asked for this exact request. So we're requesting to, I'll go through it all. Okay, here's a hype that gets you pumped about football. Maybe. So just a quick overview, student attendance this year, which has been awesome. I don't have this compared to the last couple of years, but I know it's been up. Our overall attendance has been up. But just our 4 home games, because we had the first one that got smoked out over in Seattle. But we've averaged 1,389 students per game at the football season this year, which is awesome. Even one that ran the entire game, this one we still averaged 1,362. So we've had a great attendance at our football game this year. Our student section's been awesome and been rocking. So just kind of some perspective on what we've done this year. Okay, so these have all been home events put on by CWU. Once we get, I got all in a different order. So the selection show for the football playoffs is this Sunday. So final game on Saturday, selection show on Sunday. So then they will decide, and here's all the scenarios of if we will have a home game, we'll be on the road, or if we have a bye. So really quick, we'll go through it. Students get into CW events because of the student fee. They don't have to pay. The NCAA does not allow free admission to events, meaning students will have to pay. This includes our corporate sponsors, our season ticket holders, everybody that comes to the event. My wife will have to buy a ticket. Everybody has to pay for a ticket because that money is in part goes to the NCAA. So yes, we get to host the event, but it is an NCAA sanctioned event, meaning CW cannot be homers at that game. I cannot have my announcer say, that's another Wildcat first down. It all has to be semi-neutral, but hopefully not because we're going to have more students than they will, so it'll be a bigger crowd. So obviously it's going to save our students money. It's a $5 ticket for students to get in for the playoff game, which they would have to pay if we're not able to get some of this taken care of. This will be the first time that we've hosted a playoff game since 2009. In the past, when we have hosted this event and requested S&A fees, we have been granted our request for the fee. Okay, so quick timeline. We're ranked second in our region. There's 4 different regions. So we traveled to number 10 ranked Humboldt this week. And then at the same time across the country in Sioux Falls, South Dakota is number 1 seed versus number 5 seed. If the number 1 seed wins that, we're going to be stuck in the number 2 seed and we're going to host the opening round. But if Sioux Falls wins and beats Minnesota State, we would most likely jump to the number 1 seed and have a bye next Saturday, the 18th, and host. Our first Saturday would be the worst weekend ever, Thanksgiving weekend, but I don't get to make those rules. So, if we both win, we will most likely be the number 2 seed and host in the first round November 18th, and if we win that game, again, we have a great chance to host the second round on November 25th. So again, all of this depends on who wins on the other side of the bracket if we get to keep hosting. So if we are the number 2 seed, we host the first week for sure. Then if we win, we host the second week for sure. And if we win again, and the number 1 team loses, we could host the 3rd week in a row, which would be December 2nd. And then if we win that, we'd be in the Final 4, and they reseed the Final 4 people. There's a good chance that we could host again on December 9th, which would be the $20,000. Or there's a chance we host the first game, and we only get to play in 1 home game, and we win or lose or whatever happens after that. So that's kind of the scenario. Selection show is Sunday, November 12th at 2 p.m. in Wellington Event Center. We're going to have a big watch party and announce that to get closer. Okay, so our request, we're asking for S&A fee to pay for up to 1,000 tickets at $5 each for a total of $5,000 per game. So say we approve this and it goes through and we only have 600 kids come and pick up their tickets, that's all we're going to ask to be paid for. We're not going to ask for the full amount. And it's only going to, if we have 1,200 kids that want to come to the game, we're not going to pay more than 1,000 tickets. So again, depending on the game, so obviously we may get the 1,000 this first game we win, and we play the Thanksgiving game and we have 200 kids here. I mean, totally could depend, any of that could depend on the situation. So I'll just stuck with that. Chance we could host up to the first 4 rounds, which would be the 20,000. Final request, if we do host the first round, we'll go on sale with tickets on Monday, November 13th. We can vote on this request tonight, which we've already granted. It would be amazing. Any questions? Yes.
So we've all paid a fee to go to these games for free.
Correct.
Would then that not show that we paid for the tickets since we've already paid for the fee?
Okay, great question. So this goes back, this is an NCAA event. So all these have been central events. The fee goes to pay for all of our, in our league central games. This is an NCAA event, postseason. Anywhere across the country, everybody has to go through that. So and even our season tickets, they buy season tickets for the regular season. All of our season ticket holders got to come back and buy seats for this game again. So it's not like we get to make that; it's an NCAA event. So, good question. Yeah.
So, if at one of the games, 1,500 students show up, and then there's 500 tickets that apparently have to be paid to the NCAA, where does that extra come from?
They're gonna buy.
Oh, so it's
So we'll blow it up. They have to come pick them up at a
They'll
certain
register
time.
and-
Yeah, you got to come do it. Once they're gone, they're gone.
I see.
Good question. Yeah.
What do you think the likelihood of having to do the actual full 20 games? Because you say the full request.
I hope it's 100%. So, I mean, so in 09, they had a bye in the first round, hosted and lost in the last second place. They only hosted one game.
Okay.
So, I come from a previous school that we hosted every year, almost at the University of North Alabama. We beat this year, which was awesome. They just feel real good. But it's hard. I mean, there's gonna be 2 teams in the final game, and there's a lot of teams out there. So, of us really hosting all 4 of those games are probably fairly unlikely, but I would love for it.
So
Yes.
Is it a single elimination thing?
It is very single elimination.
Are there any further questions? Thank you.
I thank you.
Alright, so as a point of information, and as you guys have seen, you would like to vote on this tonight, and so there would need to be a motion on the table to get Eric.
I would like to make a motion that we discuss supplemental funding request 18-13 CWU football and CWU playoffs for $20,000.
And point of information, discuss and vote on.
Discuss and vote.
Okay, thank you. There's a motion on the table. Alex seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? We'll be voting on this tonight. All right, moving into voting on supplemental funding requests. Yeah. Table's open for discussion. Maddie?
So I think that it's pretty awesome that our football team is undefeated right now. And I know personally from being in sports myself, growing up, there's nothing worse than when you're playing a big game and nobody shows up, because the crowd makes a big difference. You have lots of people cheering for you, it pumps you up, makes you want to do better. And so I think it's really important that, yeah, 20 grand is a lot of money, but also with the caveat of hopefully, they don't lose, but if not 1,000 students show up, that money does come back to us. So I think that, this is like another thing of like student life type of thing. Part of being college is going to football games. And especially since we're undefeated right now, I think that this is important.
Eric?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve $20,000 for 18-13 CWU football NCAA playoffs.
In what amount?
$20,000.
Okay, there's a motion on the table in the full amount. Jeanette seconds. Is there any discussion? Patrick?
So back to that spreadsheet up there. So we'll go be down to $50,000, which is done through
75% of the
150,000 in 8 weeks, and we have 20 more weeks to go at that rate. We're January. Okay. So
Any further discussion on the motion at hand?
This is a great opportunity, but I kind of second the concern because you want them to win, you really, really do, but at the same time, if they do win, it's going to put a really big hurt on the budget.
Well, it's just, we will run out more than that, the ones that we haven't seen yet, that are worthwhile endeavors, the jar will be empty, right? The jar will be empty, so that's just where you trade them.
Was there a comment from the
He's
gallery?
going through the date, so that Thanksgiving week, we're not gonna have 1,000 kids there. And then the 9th, that's finals, we'll be done with finals on the 8th. And so, I mean, I hope like crazy that there is, but I understand. Students are gonna be gone for Thanksgiving and most of them aren't gonna come back to go to a football game. Some might, and then are really gonna stick around? Maybe, hopefully, after finals week, if they're done on Monday or Tuesday, for the 9th, I definitely have a possibility of it, but just looking at those dates, 2 of those games are gonna be tough. Which stinks.
And then this one could also be potentially scalable, right? It could be instead of the first 1,000 people getting free, first 100 get in for free, or everyone gets $2. So there is something between 0 and 20,000, I think, that also could be that thing. Or the 20,000. I'm not trying to lead to that.
For myself, $5 or $20 if there's 4 games and I'm going to go to all of them. Isn't out of the realm of possibility for me. And I think that's the case for many other students. It's something that seems plausible. So, I made the motion for 20,000, but I tend to agree with Patrick.
Julie?
I think it'd be better if we did the first 500, because that's so a lot of students. They get to go for free, and even if there's 500, I'd still be more excited and like still want to get my ticket. So I that's, if it's 10,000, then they can choose to do it whatever they want, they can take it cheaper. They give credit for 500 students, whatever they want to do.
Comment from the gallery?
Just a thought to do less on those 2 games, on the Thanksgiving one and on the 9th. Maybe we do 250 or 500 or less on those 2 games specifically, where we know most people aren't gonna be there. Just to cover your guys' basis, we do less on those 2 games, maybe. I don't know, whatever you decide on, whatever, that's just a thought.
Alex?
I was gonna say, I really like the point that you were making on the $5 making possible, or the $20 if you end up going to a 4. Because what I've heard from people that come to this is the avenue to make things that were previously not possible. So somebody going to Paris or somebody going to the conference in Chicago, where it's more than $5 per person. That being said, I would like to support this. And so I actually really like the idea that you had on the first 2 where we're more likely to have students, not only because it's the first playoff game, but also because it's not in conjunction with significant events that would hinder attendance. I think adjusting the numbers for the 2 ones would probably be the best way to go about that.
And just because I get to play devil's advocate on all these things. The one part I would point out, since it was brought up in other ones, is looking at the impact to the number of students, and looking at this, there would be a $5 per student cost. Just to keep that in mind with the current request, which is per student a very low cost for S&A to be paying for something. And while I know many of us may not have financial challenges as the other part of my job, we have many students who $5 would not be feasible for a recreational event.
How much would the tickets be if we didn't fund it? Like, is it $5 anyways?
Patrick?
So I think we could also say, instead of trying to say, dictate to them how many tickets to give out each game, say if there's X amount, and you guys give out as many as you can, get as many people to attend, and those are done. Right? So that it's not an open-ended 20,000. Should they win, which we hope they will, could be gone, they could give the max benefit. So not per game, but just
And I would second that that's the best recommendation, is just to give a dollar amount and then let athletics determine how to divide and break that up.
But back to the motion at hand, is there any further discussion?
It's like 20,000.
I would like to amend my motion.
Alright, in what amount?
I'd like to amend my motion to $9,000.
There's a motion on the table to amend the $20,000 amount to $9,000, is there a second? Stephanie seconds. Is there any discussion on the amendment?
I would actually, can I amend the amendment? That sounds really, really bad, and I apologize for the
I think we
minutes.
have to approve or decline the amendment. Yes, parliamentarian.
So the amendment would be voted on, and the main amendment would be, or the main motion would be voted on. And then if it failed, then we have another motion.
The thought process behind what I'm thinking is 9,000 is a good number, but I think just for not only sake of ease, but also due to just, in my personal opinion, the importance of this event, I would be a little bit more comfortable with 10,000. But that's just my personal opinion on the matter. I think cutting it in half is a little more than half is a little harsh. I think at least doing half would be a good thing for not only the students but also the players, considering how hard they work to get to a place where they're 10-0 going into it after an absolutely amazing season.
Any further discussion on the motion at hand? Or the amendment at hand? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion is declined. Is there any further discussion on the original motion of $20,000?
I move to amend the $20,000 to $10,000.
There's a motion on the table for the amendment of $10,000. Maddie seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Any further discussion on the original amount in $10,000? Lacey?
I actually have a question.
Yes.
Is that just a $10,000 and they get to decide how they use that?
And also,
Because there's a good point of us not trying to dictate how people kind of do their jobs, I guess, especially considering we're just students that have been at this for about 8 weeks now, and they've been doing this for years, so I think they know how to use the money the best.
Eric,
So we need to vote on
Amended motion.
the amended motion of $10,000.
He's saying you voted on the original motion.
That's what I mean, the amended.
Yeah, the amended original motion.
You have all now decided that you're voting to approve $10,000. That's what is currently on the table.
As a point of information or question, let's say they only spend $2,000. At what point in the timeline of this year would we get that money back? The $8,000 that was not spent.
After the 14.
As soon as we lose.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll never have that point happen.
Exactly.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passed in the amount of $10,000. Moving on to section 9, other business communications received. I've not received any communications. Okay, moving on to section 10, public comment, second call. Is there any public comment this time? Yes.
So we have just one of those things.
Yep, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further public comment at this time? Seeing none, moving into section 11, adjournment. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. Eric moves, Alex seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Is this motion, this meeting adjourned?